Shit, I got like 7 deals this month.
What's up, guys? Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday afternoon. Sorry for that technical difficulty there, but we got it solved now, and we want to go here and start off with the topic of the day, which is how to write up a contract with the purpose of wholesaling it to an end buyer. So, guys, go ahead and if you have any comments or opinions or questions, you go ahead and put them on the comment section there, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So thanks for the likes.
Like the thing is, like, few things honestly is like try to just get better at it, improve every day, and just pay attention to what they do. You know what I'm saying? And what I do also helped me out was I pay attention to Mr. Romero's calls. Like, I'm not trying to
All right.
but I see how I pay attention to how the way he acts.
So in Texas, what we have is a 1 to 4 family residential contract resale. Okay, we don't use at HILCO Homes. We don't use an attorney contract. We go ahead and use contracts that are written up by TREC, which is the Texas Real Estate Commission, TREC. So those of you that are familiar with that name, okay, and so that's important. The contracts that you'll be using tonight are going to be the 1 to 4 family, and we also have some other documents that are important when writing up a contract with the seller, because you have this property seller disclosure that talks about what the seller knows about the condition of the property, and also the lead paint disclosure, which is required by federal law, and that one asks the seller if they know or have any knowledge of lead paint in the property, and any house that's built before 1978. So hey, thanks Michelle for watching. Jenny, thank you for watching. Who else we got on here? Moses is on. James, Charlie, what's up, everybody? And so we're gonna go ahead and start with this. I wanted to do a screen on it, but maybe Charlie can help me with that next time, my IT guy. And so what we'll do is just turn the camera around so you can see from your angle the paperwork. So if you guys have any questions regarding contracts before I start, now is a good time to go ahead and ask them.
I'm just focused on building my cash flow.
Contracts are very important because the contract, the way you write it up, will determine how you control the deal. If you have a contract that is poorly written, you're not going to be able to control the deal, and you're going to get in trouble because either you're going to be not performing or you won't be able to get your deposit back. So you got to be very careful on how you write that up, right? All right. So with that said, we'll start off with the 1 to 4, and here we go. All right, so this is the 1 to 4 residential contract resale. This is the first page, first clause. I'm gonna turn it this way. Does that work? All right.
Sport is basketball.
Excuse me. Let me put it up this way. All right. So on the parties to the contract that would be the seller. So right there on line 1, you would go with the seller's name. If it's an estate, you can write the estate of John Doe, right? If it's an estate, if there's an executor there already and everything. So keep that in mind. It depends on what the situation is. That's what you put as a seller. A copy? Okay. Next thing is the buyer. Now, you're the buyer, and you're going to be signing your name. We'd be plugging in your name there. If you have an LLC, you'll plug in the LLC as you see right here. Right? So ours is HILCO Homes LLC. Okay. Next line is the property. Number 2, you want to get the block and lot number and you also want to get the legal description of the property, which is which you put right here after the block number. So it would be the lot number and the block number, and then here would be the legal description. So you ask yourself, well, where do I get that? You will get that from the tax record. Okay? So the tax record is going to have that information. The next one is the city, which is San Antonio, and the county, which is Bear. Depending on which city you're in, that's what you'll put there. Okay? And then, of course, the address. The address goes here. The address does not go over here. That's where you're going to put the legal description. Address goes here along with the city, the state, and the zip code would go on this line. All right, everybody follow me so far? All right, wonderful.
The reason I know is that because that's
okay. Thanks, Sam, for watching. Marquisa, Bonnie, thanks for jumping in. Jesse, yeah, what's up, Jesse? Good to see you again. And Jesse and I signed up a contract actually 2 days ago. Was it yesterday? We got a contract signed up, and we're going to be wholesaling that property, might possibly. All right, so that's 2. You scroll down to D, exclusions. That's if the seller, the following improvements and accessories will be retained. D is exclusions. This is if in case you have a seller that wants to keep her grandmother's chandelier, it would go here. Grandma's chandelier it will not convey. That's the legal term. Okay? Usually with these properties, nothing's conveying because the house is a piece of shit and they're selling it. Pretty much. All right. Next is sale price. Okay, now this is important, right? Sale price is important because that's where you negotiated the deal with the seller. So sale price A would be let's say you negotiated a $50,000 price for the home. It would go right there under A. B is financing. As wholesaler, we purchase all cash, so there is no financing. So that stays blank, and you would put nothing here. Just keep it blank, or you could write 0. Next line is 3C, sales price again. That's going to be the same price as A would be C. So 50,000 here, 50,000 here. That's what you put as a sale price. Now, mind you, this is not a subject to property. This is not any other type of exit strategy. This is if we're just going to go ahead and wholesale the property. Clause number 4 is the license holder, right? The license holder is Hillary Romero here in our office. She is a licensed real estate agent, so we want to cover our asses and make sure you put her there as an active agent, and is also the owner of HILCO Homes. So that is important if you are active. If you're inactive but you have a license, don't put anything. I'm inactive as an agent, so I would generally leave that blank when I did my own deals before I came to HILCO Homes. All right. Mandy, thanks for watching. Dina, any questions, guys? Just plug in your comments in the comment section. Next deal is the earnest money. Now, this is very important here, guys. Earnest money with the title company. This is the title company we use. We use several different title companies. This one has Katrina White at Excel Title. Okay. As you can see, this is already filled out because this is my template that I use. All I got to do is plug and play. All right. So here in the earnest money, we would put what we negotiate with the seller. We generally put $10. But you could put $1, you could put $1,000, you could put $500. But generally, if you're going to wholesale this as an exit strategy, you put $10 here. Okay. The address of the title company, and the next 2 lines are blank. NA. That's even if you're going to leave a second. If you're going to leave a second deposit, you would fill it in there. Okay, guys. Awesome. Next is clause 6, title policy. Title policy is important too because it says who's going to pay for it. As you can see, when you do a wholesale deal, you usually it's the buyer is paying the expenses of title. And that's why we said we'll pay all your closing costs. You ever hear that line? We pay all your closing costs. Well, There you go. It goes check with buyers. Then you will check off buyer's expense. And again, the same title company as you had prior goes right there. This is page 1. Make sure the seller initials every page right here. You would initial this after they initial. First, the seller initials. All right, guys? All right, awesome. Going on to the second page. Hey, Jennifer, Esther, Chris, thank you for watching. Second page of the contract is this here line, which is part of the sixth clause from the page 1. This talks about boundary lines, and it says that I checked off we will not amend or delete from the title policy. So whatever the title policy says about the boundary lines on the survey is what we decided is we're not going to amend. It's kind of a technical thing. I never had it come up in any of my deals. If any of you had, put it in your comments and tell me about your experience with that. But we always check off the first box, which is will not be amended. Okay. Next is commitment. Commitment is a very, very important clause. What? Why? Does anybody know what commitment means on a real estate transaction? Anybody want to guess? What does commitment mean? All right. Hey, Valerie. All right. So commitment does not mean your relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and if it's within 20 days of dating. Okay. Commitment is a technical term, which means the title will do abstract on the address of the property and find out if there's any liens or judgments or child support, IRS liens, etc., loans with banking institutions. I have a question from Armo. Arno says, this is a contract to sell a wholesale deal to any investor, buyer, ? Yes, thanks for jumping in. This is a quick class on how to write up a contract in order to wholesale the contract and make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more without picking up a hammer. I see we have a lot of people on here, 6 people here. Now, wouldn't you like to make $20,000 without picking up a hammer? Give me some likes if you think that would interest you. Okay, thank you. I got 1 heart. I'll take that as a yes. Okay, this business is legit. You have the legal right to sell your equitable interest on a property. And this is what this is. This is an equitable interest contract. You're selling the paper without picking up a hammer and without having to worry about fixing up the house. So this is a basic beginner's class here on how to write up a contract. So we talked about commitment. We're going to get to that in a minute. The next line is survey. Survey is pretty much just like a sketch of the property lines, where it begins, where it ends. When we do wholesale deals here, we don't worry about that, so we leave that blank. If the seller has a survey and it's current, then you know what? Get a copy of the survey. Why? Because it will save the buyer about $500 if it's properly surveyed, if it has a stamp on it, okay? And if it has, if it's not 50 years old, the buyer could use it. It's transferable and save the buyer $500. So always ask the seller if there is a survey on the home. If not, no big deal. Don't stress it. So objections. That objections is regarding to the commitment. So it's the commitment again talks about if there's any defects, any clouds, encumbrances with the title. Okay, and here it says for residential use if it's a residential house, and so we are asking 2 days. So the buyer must object within 2 days of getting that commitment from the title company, whether they want to move forward or not. If they don't, they get deposit back. I've really never had to use this. We always worked out our title issues if it's workable. But the buyer does have that exemption where he can get out if the title is not clean and he wants to just find another property that doesn't have a problem with title. Okay. Any questions, guys? Just put them in the comments section. Hi, Antoine, Jesse. Thank you for clicking in. Andrea, Francis. We're talking about how to write up a contract for a wholesale deal. Remember, have the seller initial every page. Moving on to this one here, which is the membership in property owners of association. This talks about if the property is in an HOA. Here is not in an HOA, so I click no. Remember, it's very important. If you're going to be wholesaling a deal, you better make sure that the seller has his HOAs paid up to date. If not, it's going to come off the proceeds of the sale of the house down the road. Every page gets the address again, so don't forget to write in the address on every page. We're going on to page 3, guys. So, moving along. This is what I call the attorney page because there's no no data entry on page 3. This one talks about taxes and annexation and property located in utility services. Nothing here really important to go over because there's no data entry. So we're going on to page 4. Okay, page 4 is property condition. Now, we're buying always. Property has not received the seller disclosure. So, seller disclosure is a very important document. We're going to go over that next after we do this contract. This is required by the Texas Property Code. This is required by Texas law. A lot of wholesalers don't use property condition disclosures. We do at HILCO Homes because we are very transparent and we like to do things the right way. So here we have 2 days to review the property condition disclosure, which is a 3 or 4 page document showing what the condition of the house is and what the seller knows about the condition of the house. There are some exemptions. If the property is an estate sale, the seller does not have to require that. So they would check 3. However, if the seller lives there and he has to fill this out, we have up to 2 days. Within 2 days of this contract, he has to provide that to the buyer. Okay? If the buyer has not received the notice, he has to get it within 2 days. If the buyer already receives it, then you would check the first box. You're the buyer, so most likely you'd never received it because this is the first time you're meeting with the seller. All right. Moving on. Here on D, you're buying the property as is condition, so you would check the first box. Okay, most wholesale deals you buy as is condition. All right, if you did negotiate it where the seller has to fix something in the house. Sorry about that. Somebody was actually calling me on Facebook. All right, so let me put out the clause here that I am not an attorney. I am not an attorney, and now am I giving legal advice, first of all, okay? I'm just quickly going over how to write up a contract in Texas. So moving on. What's an HOA? Medania has a question. I'm new to this. Thanks for the advice. So HOA is... it stands for Homeowners Association. Homeowners Association are subdivisions here in Texas where they have to pay a monthly or annually fee to live in that subdivision. Okay, it could be $100 a year. It could be $100 a month. Sometimes they go up to $500 a month. Depends on the neighborhood. If it's a really expensive neighborhood, then your HOAs are higher. So keep that in mind. Hey Logan, thank you for watching. I wasn't sure, Logan, were you asking me a question? I think you might have wanted to talk to me on Facebook. You could private message me though. I have my other phone on. So moving on to H, residential service contracts. We don't generally fill that out. That's for a typical retail sale where you want to offer the new buyers a warranty on their washer and dryer and dishwasher. We don't do that here in this type of business. Okay, moving on. Closing date. Now, closing date is very important, right? That's when you get paid. So, number 9, the closing date. You always want to ask the seller when they want to close the property, when it's convenient for them, so that you could, be a win-win for everybody. You would put the date and the year there, closing date. And that goes into effect on the effective date, which I'll show you in a minute. Possession. Possession is very important as well. Possession is upon closing and funding. You can close a deal, but sometimes they don't fund. That's a problem. Right, Logan? So you always want to make sure they take possession when it closes and funds. Also, you don't give them the key. But you're the buyer here, so usually there's a lockbox on the property, and the buyer who buys it, the end buyer, will go ahead and start renovation on the house once it's funded and closed. Now, if the seller needs another 30 days to vacate, what you want to do is just check on this box. This will give you a temporary residential lease on the property. So it's a lease. It's called a lease back. That happens quite often in this business. If you want to win the contract, you will offer the seller whatever dollar amount, or maybe free. They could stay for free, okay? And maybe that's one way you could win the contract from another investor. So you would check on that and maybe charge them $1. That's up to you. I'm just putting out there an example. Maddie says, thank you for spreading your knowledge. Well, you're welcome. And if you like it, give me some likes. We offer here free advice here at HILCO Homes. And we like to think that we're very transparent. And if you have any deals out there, need help, reach out to me. I'll be happy to look at the deal. 11, special provisions. Okay, here's very important. Buyer pays all closing costs. Okay, I've seen where it says buyer pays all closing costs, except for the real estate taxes. I've seen where this clause, this special provisions, you could put that subject to my real estate investment partners inspecting the property, because that could be your way out as well of the contract if you can't find an end buyer, right? So you could load this up with a lot of text. Again, getting back to our first page, which I forgot to mention, was on. Let me just go back real quickly here. On the first page, on where it says buyer, it has our name. If it had your name, you could write John Doe and/or signs. So those are the key words. And/or signs gives you the right to assign the property. We have a special Exhibit A document, so we don't put that on ours because we have a separate writer to go along with this one. But if you don't have any assignment of writers, then you want to make sure that it does say and/or assigns. Okay. Mr. Paul Workman, how are you, sir? Okay, so moving on. Where were we? Buyer pays all closing costs. There you can add the fact that it's subject to my partner inspecting the property. You could also say, write a clause where it says whatever you want in terms of out clause. There's some wholesalers that put some other information out there that protect them from, so they don't lose their escrow. Okay. Next is settlement and other expenses. That's keeps blank because if this was a regular sale, retail sale, usually here is where the seller gives the buyer a concession for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to help him with his closing costs. We're not doing that in this type of business here. We're buying all cash. There is no seller concession. Okay, moving on. Hi, Norma. Moving on to what page is this here? Okay, we're on page 6. Okay, page 6. Okay, here in page. Oh, let's see, page 6. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do two things at the same time here. So 6 is just put the address on top. There isn't any data entry here, so it's just a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, as I call it. Now we're on page 7. Page 7 is where you put your notices. This is where you put the buyers, which is HILCO Homes, and where you put the seller's information. This is very important because this is where the title gets their information to send out emails and letters in the mail in case they need to forward you something after you close. So very, very important. Make sure that you put the seller's forwarding address here, phone number. If they have a fax machine, you may want to ask them why they have a fax machine, and then their email here. Okay, very important information. Next, is agreement of parties. Here is where you check off all your addendums and amendments here, and other documents that are pertaining to the deal. If this is a wholesale transaction, there isn't going to be pretty much, it keeps all blank except for the lead paint disclosure. If the house was built before 1978, you would check that one off. Here we also have the other checked off because that's where we put our document that which is called Exhibit Alpha for property purchase. This is a document, it's a one-page document that we use to basically state that we have the right to wholesale the property, pretty much, and sell our interest, equitable interest on this contract. Totally legal in the state of Texas. Okay, termination option period. You might have heard in the option period. Again, we don't enter any information on that. That we do leave blank. We like to put NA, not available, just so that everybody understands that it's blank.
Sometimes I get people who are like doing bids or contracting for the rehab.
Okay.
They call me to get access. I'll get to know them.
Oh boy, here is the attorney section. And for all you attorneys out there, I do have a love-hate relationship with you guys, but that stays blank. Generally, when we're in this business, we don't have any attorneys involved. If there was an attorney, you would fill out the information right there. Okay. Execution is very important. This here box. This is when the clock starts ticking. So whatever time this is signed is the effective date. That's a legal term, the effective date. So the clock starts ticking at the effective date of this contract. Buyer signs here, seller signs there. As you notice, there's no date there because the date is the effective date on the top. So once both parties, whoever signs last, that's when you can fill in this date. Don't fill it out until both parties have signed. Once both parties sign, you fill that out. Broker information. Again, there is usually no broker involved in writing up a wholesale exit strategy for this one. There's hardly ever time there's a broker's involved, but there is a broker involved. Just go ahead and put their information here. You'll have to get their license number. You got to get their broker's name, their supervisor's name, and license number. So it gets very technical here. And of course, if the broker is going to get paid, you're going to want to put his commission here, whether it's a percentage or a dollar amount. It goes right there. That's how they get paid, if there's a broker involved. Okay, wonderful. Any questions so far, guys? Okay, here we go. We got one question here again from Arno Costi. If you're purchasing this property as a wholesale, but this is a purchase contract cash, what's the difference between purchase contract and wholesale contract? So let me repeat that. If you're purchasing this property as a wholesale, but this is a purchase contract cash, what is the difference between purchase contract and wholesale contract? Well, that's a great question. So this video here is a quick course on how to write up a contract with the intentions of wholesaling it to an end buyer. Okay, so yes, this is a cash transaction. There is no financing involved. There is no third party or seller owner financing on this here example. So whether there's a difference or not, it's a purchase contract, cash purchase contract with the exit strategy of assigning your equitable interest to another end buyer, which is called an assignee. You're the assigner as the buyer, and you're going to be assigning this to an assignee. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Bill, thank you for watching. Let's see, the last page here is usually for the title companies. Again, we don't really use option periods, so that would be blank. Earnest money receipt, that would be your deposit, and the title officer will go ahead and sign off on that. Receipt the contract, an acknowledgement, and this is again if there's a second deposit, which we generally don't do. So once the title company receipts this contract, you have an executed deal with the seller, and now the title company can go ahead and open escrow. Okay. Marco, thank you for watching. Quinton, thank you for getting on, jumping on. So that was the 1 to 4 contract. If anybody missed it, you can go back and look over what I said in terms of how to properly write up a contract of sale on a resale. This is not new construction. This is not for condos. This is not for vacant land or lots. This is not for commercial property. This is for single family dwellings up to 4 units. Anything after 4 units is commercial real estate. All right, guys? Wonderful. Any questions so far? Because now we're going to jump into some of the other documents that we need to fully have a package to send out the title and protect your interests, so you don't get a call back and say you did not give me this form. I want to get my lawyer involved or whatever. We don't need to go down that road, right, guys? All right. So as I go ahead and prepare to pull up the other documents here, how's everyone's day today? Hope everyone's doing well. It's Wednesday afternoon. I'm here with the closer, and I'm here also with I'm also here with a new acquisitions partner that it is his first day working with us, and we're excited to have him. His name is PJ Homer Gonzalez, and he was actually a Facebook friend of mine who was watching us on my shows here, and he's a new wholesaler. He's excited. He's a young man, smart, got a lot of energy, and he's going to do very well in this business. We're excited to have him, and well, let me go ahead and get this up here. Okay. Got a missed call from Chris Haskins. Chris Haskins, if you're still watching, get back to me, send me a private message. Let me know what's up. I missed the video chat with Chris. Okay. Alright, cool. I am creative, yes.
Yes, he is. Very creative man.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me give you guys a shout out. Hold on. Stay right there, guys. So look who's here with me tonight. Who's this guy right here? AK.
The closer, baby.
The closer.
Yeah, about to close some deals today, man. Making it happen. Be creative with the deals. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all I'm gonna give them a golden nugget.
One golden nugget.
One golden nugget. Okay, if you have a buyer who's lender, who's a contractor, who's a realtor, is charging them so much, connect them with other people that can save them or compete with their rates, with what they're getting. That will help you save the deal, or that'll help you, that definitely will put more money in your buyer's pocket, which they would love you more for. So that's a golden nugget. I saved a lot of deals doing that.
Golden nugget for Wednesday. Yeah. And who are you, sir?
My name is PJ. My name is Homer. They call me PJ. I'm new. I'm coming from the Valley. Came to learn from all these gurus, or you can call them durus.
Durus, that's
there you go.
Yes,
that came to come learn from all these guys. There's a lot of good vibes out here, and just looking to grow.
All right, badass. Well, we're excited to have you join our power team, the MIB squad, as we call it, the HH crew. And you're gonna do great things. I could tell, PJ, you're a smart young man,
yes,
and I like your energy. Cool.
Yes,
all right, so awesome. So those are my ways right here. They're offering me support while I go live on Facebook. And listen, it's all about networking, right? And it's all about your posse, man, and working together. You gotta have the right crew working together, and the energy's gotta be right. You know what I mean? And so, Marco Romero and Hillary have really done a great job in putting together a company like this that we're looking to take it to the next level in terms of social media, in terms of production, in terms of professionalism. We want to be transparent because unfortunately over the years, this industry has always had a reputation of being sneaky or unethical. Well, we're looking to change that big time. So with that said, let me go ahead and turn this around and get you to the new, get you to the other disclosures, because you don't want to hear me talking, right? You came here to look at these documents and figure out how the hell do I write up a document to get paid. So the next document is the seller disclosure. I'm sorry, this is called the lead paint disclosure. I call it the lead paint disclosure, but it's technically the lead base paint disclosure. You can call it whatever you like, but this is the lead paint, and this is what the term most people use. You plug in the address here. Again, this is a Trek form. So all these forms I'm showing you tonight, you can get them for free. Just Google this here. Google Trek, and you will get the forms for free. You don't have to go to a real estate agent. You don't have to go to a lawyer. They're going to want a piece of the action, right, guys? So, no, man, just go online. Google is your best friend, and YouTube. Those are your only two mentors you need, like I say. So once you have the address there, you have to ask the seller 2 questions. Mr. Seller, do you have any knowledge of lead paint in the house? No. Okay, check. Mr. Seller, do you have any reports or records of lead paint in the house? No. Check. That's it. You're done. Go over here and you sign. Boom. Sign right there, Mr. Seller, and date it. Okay? When you find you as the buyer, you're going to go here and just say, you can click either one. You can say, buyer waives the right, the opportunity, or within 10 days after the effective date, the buyer has an opportunity to go ahead and do an inspection, which is basically a waste of money in this business because guess what? You're rehabbing the whole goddamn house, and if there's lead paint, you're probably going to remove it. Hopefully you remove it legally and not illegally, but that's for another story. I usually click 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter at this point. You can also click buyer has received copies of information listed. That's only if there was if the seller did say they had lead paint, so that's never checked off. You could click on buyer has received pamphlets, which is like propaganda material from the government. Because I'm just kidding. But no, C, I would go ahead and go with 1. C1 is what I would do as a wholesaler if I was out there in the field. Okay, and then you sign. You sign here. Remember, you're signing all these documents, and then when you assign it to your end buyer, they inherit all these signatures from you. And of course, you want to give the end buyer these documents to review because they need to know what they're agreeing to if they're going to go ahead and want to buy it. The property. I'll explain that in a little bit. Hey, Jason, Evans, thank you for watching. Eric, Bito, and Raymond. Okay, cool. So, moving on. This is, again, the lead paint disclosure. You should have it when you do a deal with the 1 to 4 family contract, which I just showed you. Okay, next one. All right, this is the 1 to 4 family. Free online. Lead paint disclosure, free online. Next, seller disclosure, free online. Trek. Okay. Again, address over here, right? Address up on top. I'm going on 45 minutes, so we're going to be able to cut this to less than an hour. So this is important, okay? You want to have the seller complete this. Technically, the seller is the only one allowed to fill this out. Not you, not the broker, not the attorney, the seller only. If it's an estate sale, you don't have to fill this out. And there's 1 or 2 other exemptions out there. Usually it's an estate sale, the owner died, the executor is handling the sale. They're exempt from filling this out. But if the seller is alive, or whoever's on the deed is alive, okay, whoever's on the deed is alive, they better fill this out if you don't want to get in trouble later on. Mind you, good night, Michelle. Mind you, whoever's buying this house doesn't really care what the condition of the house is because they're usually professional investors that know how to renovate a home. Okay, but again, you want to cover yourself, and so you always have the seller fill this out. It's basically a yes or no or unknown in all these boxes. Every box has to be complete. You can't leave any blanks. Very important. So you continue down. They ask you some questions. Just have the seller answer them honestly. Second page, same thing. A couple of questions about the foundation, the roof, the walls, the ceilings. Everything. It's it goes very comprehensive. It goes into everything. So just termite, just have the seller answer honestly, but he has to complete every box. Okay, you can't leave any blanks. The last page, you go ahead and have the seller sign off on it there, and then you sign off on the bottom. Okay, and date it. Okay, any questions on that, guys? Okay, so That is the seller disclosure, SD as I call
Right
it.
now, you need a.
And by the way, there's another one that the agents use. They have a TAR over here instead of TREC. It's TAR. It stands for Texas Association of Realtors. Only agents could use that. This is for the public, and this is probably easier for them than TAR. I don't like the way TAR is written up. Okay, last one. All right, this is your money page, guys. You know what they say, the money shot? This is your money shot right here. All right? This here allows me to assign the contract to the end buyer. Okay, this is not the Exhibit A. The Exhibit A is a different form, which, you know what, I'm going to bring that up before the end of the show here. This here is our assignment of contract. I call it the AOC. And no, it does not stand for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman. It stands for assignment of contract, AOC. Okay, here has our name and the seller's name. No, excuse me, the end buyer, the assignee. His name will go here. What's up, Edwin? Thank you for watching, Edwin Morsa. Here we go, the address and the NCB number, which is the property description of the property, which you can find on the tax record. Property description is a legal description of the property. Very important. That also goes in the 1 to 4 family. If you remember the first page that we went when we started this video. Okay, so whereas a signer of a 1 to 4 family contract with the seller, this is where we put the original seller's name right here, not you, the original owner of the house. His name goes right there, or her name, the seller. Okay, so clause 1, the assignee, which is the end buyer. The end buyer is the assignee. The assigner is you, the wholesaler. Okay, and this line is going to tell you how much your fee is. This is where you get paid. All right. Again, I am not an attorney. I'm not offering legal advice here. I am showing just a classic example of how to sell the interest, equitable interest of a contract. I am not selling the property. I don't own the property. I own the equitable interest of the property. Marco, thank you for watching. I had to plug that in. I plugged it in earlier, but I'm plugging it in again because my boss is watching. Well, not my boss, man, my partner. Okay, what's up? Everyone give a shout out to Marco Romero. He's online. So, moving on to the third clause. Assignee must close on the transaction date on or before. That you could do before the closing date of the contract or at the contract where whatever the contract states. So you could edit that to help you, because I've seen contracts where it had contract has said closing June 15, but the assignment of contract said June 1st. So you're able to edit this to help and make it a win-win for you as well, and close earlier if the buyer is willing to close earlier. So if assignee fails to close on at that date, the assignee or requests an extension. And if he doesn't request an extension within 24 hours of additional deposit per day, so you can ask, if he's not ready to close the buyer, you can ask for a 50-day extension, $100 per day, $1 per day, whatever you agree to. Just make it just make it reasonable. If the assignee fails to close within 7 days on the date, then he might be losing his deposit. Assignee shall deposit X amount of money to HILCO Homes. This is a non-refundable deposit. The assignee has to do his due diligence before leaving any amount of money to the assignment of contract. So Marco made a comment here. Got to know how to write contracts to make sure the deal closes. Correct. HILCO Home sells title contract courses for wholesalers at 50 videos for $97. Thank you for texting that, Marco. That's something I should do more often. We love to offer free advice here, but you can only get so much from a video, really. If you want a more comprehensive course, listen, we have a great video for $50. 50 videos for $97, which is a really great bargain. I actually purchased that when I got into real estate here, and it was worth the money. So if you're interested, just private message me or private message Marco, or just go to our homepage at HILCO Homes. So finishing off here, a signer has negotiated purchase price with the subject property. That's where you put the original price of the what you contacted with the seller. Let's say $50,000, you would put it here. Add in the assignment fee, let's say $8,000 here, and that will give you a total of $58,000 here. So you agreed to $50,000 with the seller. You were able to get $8,000 more from an end buyer, the assignee. So in total, it will be $58,000. The seller gets $50,000, and you, the wholesaler, gets $8,000. Copy? Okay. The assignment, this assignment is conditioned on a clean title. So if for whatever reason the title is not clean and they can't close, whatever you put down here as a deposit, you'll get that money back. And so there is no risk for you if the title is not clean. Okay, number 8, it would be the property will be delivered vacant or with tenants, so that would go there.
Hold by and help you out with some stuff.
Here in 9, you put in a dollar amount in case the assignee shall retain the sum of as liquid damages if the assignee fails to close. If the whatever reason the buyer just gets cold feet or can't get funding from his hard money lender, he loses that escrow money. He loses that deposit he left with the wholesaler, HILCO Homes. There's risk involved in real estate, so make sure you know what you're getting into and you've done your due diligence. Okay, this is just more disclosures and acknowledgments here. This is the second. This is the third page. This talks about our office and Hillary Romero, who's a broker, disclosing that she's an agent. And here is just a dispersal on the breakdown of what your fees are going to be once you close on the property at title at the closing table. Here's our addresses and our emails. Again, this will be the wholesaler is the assigner. The end buyer is the assignee. Both of them would sign this, dated, email, phone number. And that is the end of that. So it's going on 55 minutes, or I guess, no, we started a little early, a little later. We're going on 50 minutes or so. So we went over all these little, these very important docs. This is the main one. Without this, you don't have a deal, really. Okay, make sure it's signed and initialed every page. Again, you as the wholesaler will put your name, John Doe, and or assigns here if you don't have any document as an exhibit A for protecting you that you have the right to assign your equitable interest here. Okay, so that's the 1 to 4, the lead paint disclosure we talked about already, very important. And then we moved on to the seller disclosure notice, and the last thing was assignment of contract. So these are the main pages you need. If you have these 4, you're in good shape to go ahead and do your first wholesale deal. If you have any questions or concerns, opinions, reach out to me. Reach out to Hernando Arce. You can also find me on Instagram at Hernando.Hilco. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any questions, now would be a great time to ask them. Well, we just went over how to write up a contract and with the exit strategy of wholesaling it. Arno has a question here. Please, private message me, please, to purchase the videos. Excellent. We got Arno Costi interested in that. That's a very wise decision. Next is Steven. Do you sign then, add, or signs? So his question is, do you sign then, add, or do you? No, what you want to do is just write in the text. I mean, it has your name, right? The buyer's name, John Doe, and or assigns. Those 3 magic words will make you your money. Did I answer that question, Stephen? And or assigns, and or assigns. 3 words, right next to your name. That gives you the legal right. Well, it's you're being transparent. I mean, you don't really have to have it, but you should have it if this is your first time wholesaling or whatnot. And then in the special provisions, you can actually put some clauses there where it protects you as well, saying that it's subject to your investment partners inspecting the property and also that your earnest money is the only deposit that is at risk if in case you can't close. So hopefully that answers your question. Missy, thank you for watching. Jesus, Marquez, everyone, Lois, you guys have a great evening, and again, keep the hustle on, and don't stop grinding.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
Until the next time. Yeah. Until next time. Have a good night.